Hello there, this is Alana Tuckey, and in this video I'm going to discuss exam policies for our Math 133 online course. So there are two proctored exams that are taking place in our course. There is a midterm exam, which is after Chapter 7, and there's a final exam, which is at the end of the course. Now you can tell where these are in the schedule. So if you remember, we have this link to the schedule. Here is the midterm at weeks 7 and 8. You have a couple weeks to kind of get them and your projects and everything squared away, ready to take that midterm. And then the final is at the very end, the final exam right here. And again, you have a couple weeks there at the end to kind of get everything studied, get everything ready to go, and take that final, as well as do those last two projects. Okay, so let's see here. First thing to know is that notes are allowed on your exams. So on the midterm exam, you're allowed 2 pages of notes, 8.5 by 11 front and back of your own creation. They can be handwritten, they can be typed, whatever. If you want your notes back from the midterm so you can use them on the final, that is only an option that if you take the midterm at the JC Testing Center, the Jackson College Testing Center. Put your name and address clearly somewhere on the notes, and I will mail them back to you. Students that take their exams at proctoring centers should make copies of their notes and take those into the exam so that the originals are not lost and you can use those on the final. Right? Sort of like the projects, you're never going to get those notes back. So make a copy of them, take the copy in to take your exam, and they're just going to get lost. So have the originals back at home that you can use for the final exam. Or if you ever need them for something else. Even for the final, you might want to take in copies and keep your original notes someplace. On the final exam, you will be allowed 4 pages of notes of your own creation, front and back. Usually what students do is they use the 2 pages that they used for their midterm, and then they just bring in a couple more for the final. The one caveat that I have to say about this with the midterm is that if any problems or information from the midterm is written on the notes, you will not receive them back, period. Period. Right? So do not write problems, info, anything about the midterm on those notes, right? In order to receive them back. In other words, you don't, say problem number 3 was this on those note sheets and then expect them to be mailed back to you, because they will not. I guess I should make this a little bit clearer. It's written on the notes during testing. There we go. Then the notes will not be received. The notes will not be mailed back, ever. Period. Okay? All right, on the final exam, same thing. I mean, if you ever desire to have them back, some people like them back. If you ever desire them back, don't write anything from the final on there either. Although in general, I don't mail them back. I'll put that in here. In general, final exam notes are not mailed back, except by special request. So in general, they go into a file and eventually they're destroyed. So if you'd like yours back, put your name on them, etc., and don't write on them during the exam. Also during the final, you'll be given a tables packet and an inferential statistics info sheet. Those are both located in your course pack, in addition to the notes that you bring. So that's like 14, this is 4 pages, and this is like 14 pages of notes that you're given. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go make a link to them so you can click on it here. 1 second. There you go. That way you can click on them here. They're also available under, let's see, info and links in here. They're available if you click on exams down here. There's the inferential statistics sheet. There's the table sheet. Okay. All right. So let's see what else. Go back to the syllabus. You must also have a calculator. A TI-84 is required for testing, right? So you're going to have a TI-84 calculator with the newest operating system. The 2.55 operating system, let me put it that way. All right, now where do you take your tests? Well, these are proctored, so you're not going to be able to take them online. You're going to have to drive in somewhere and take it, physically take it. You have to prove who you are with an ID, that sort of thing. So most students, vast majority of students, take it at the JC testing lab. The testing lab is located in Atkinson Hall. think they changed the name of it to testing lab now. And the information is all available here, which again is on that info and links page under exams. I have the Jackson College Testing Lab info right there. See, right there it is, same information. So they tell you all sorts of stuff like you must bring your photo ID. It's got to be your driver's license or federally issued photo identification. So you have to prove who you are. This is their phone number and their location. These are the hours that they are open, etc. They're collected at closing time, so you want to make sure that you arrive with plenty of time to take your test, general information, and so on, right? Security cameras that are monitoring the labs at all time, etc., etc., etc. So read this over at full length. You cannot bring your cell phones in. If you are caught cheating, you'll be given a 0 for the exam, those kinds of things. All right, so let's see. Read over that information fully if you're going to take the test at the JC Testing Center. That is on Central Campus. Let's see. Now, everybody's assumed that you will take it there unless you request and are approved, because just requesting it doesn't automatically mean you're going to get it, to be able to take the test somewhere else. So I'll talk about that somewhere else a bit down here, but let me go through the other things about the JC Testing Center. So the test will be placed in there a week before the due date. Actually, probably since you have a 2-week window, it'll be probably 2 weeks before the due date, because I purposefully gave you guys a couple weeks in the midterm and a couple weeks at the final time in order to get that done. So that way you guys have plenty of time to study. You can take the test whenever the lab is open, fine. Let's see, you may turn in your paper and pencil projects. Again, it depends on which one are due, but paper and pencil projects 2 or 4 at the testing center when you take them at JC's campus. Let me clean up that language 1 second. There, that makes a little more sense. You may turn in paper and pencil project number 2 when you take your midterm, and you can turn in paper and pencil project 4 when you take your final. Of course, the 1 and 3 you're going to have to submit electronically or come and bring them into me on campus yourself. All right, then last but not least, I've been talked to by the testing lab that my online students in particular don't show up with enough time to take the test. So let me be very clear. There's a 3-hour time limit on this test, and some people will take the full 3 hours, especially if you're, quite frankly, not prepared and you haven't been practicing with your note sheets. So do not arrive at that testing center an hour before they close, because then you will only have an hour. That's it. If you want to have 3 hours to take your test, then you need to arrive 3 hours before the center closes. Otherwise, you might not have enough time to take your exam. Okay. Then, if you cannot take your 2 exams at the JC Testing Lab, you must send an email to me, right, with this following test center selection form. It just threw me off a little bit because I said me, but it says instructor, but I'm the instructor. So you would email me with this testing center selection form. So let's take a look at that real quick. So first thing you're going to do is explain why you feel you need an alternative testing center. Then you're going to select your testing center. Tell me your name, your ID number, what semester you're taking this course, what's your testing center selected, and what's your testing center contact person and email address. Acceptable testing centers are listed below. Here they are. So these external testing centers might charge a fee for taking it. If you take it at JC's testing center, it is free. But these external testing centers might charge you something for it. And every one of them has slightly different rules or whatever with regards to testing. I will contact the people after you make the initial contact and make sure that you can take your test there. Once you give me the contact person right here, the contact person and their email, I will get in touch with them and discuss how the test is supposed to be administered, what you're allowed to have, etc., etc., etc. So you would fill out this form, you would download it, fill it out, etc., and then you will email it to me by the date that is required by the schedule. And according to the schedule, let's see here, turn in your testing center selection form right there. So that would become by 9/2, 9/22, for example. There we have it. So turn in the testing selection form by 9/22 if you're not using JC Central Campus Testing Center. Okay? And again, you have to be approved for that. I have to make contact with the person in charge of the testing center, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you will have to scan and email your paper and pencil projects if you're taking the test at another testing center, right? Because they won't be able to necessarily send me in the same way that the JC testing center can, the paper and pencil projects. So you would have to scan them and upload them for sure. So if you look back to the projects, there is always that option for everybody. That will definitely be the option you would be taking, making scans and uploading them if you have to take your test at an alternative testing center, because you won't be able to do this option right here, number 2, of turning it into me, or hypothetically speaking, this option right here, bringing it into me personally or the testing center. All right, so I think that's everything with regards to tests. You have to bring your calculator, your note sheets. You'll be given some note sheets for the final exam. They're not needed for the midterm, so you don't have them then. You'll be taking your test at the JC Testing Center. Make sure you arrive with plenty of time, and make sure you read this full list of everything that all the information that they have for you. In particular, I'm sure the things to remember, what can go wrong, what not to bring, those are important parts to read over. Of course, make sure you have your own pencils and pens, make sure you have your calculator, make sure you have your note sheets, don't forget them. Make sure you bring in your paper and pencil projects. Cell phones cannot be used during the testing. They can put them away for you, but you can't use them in the testing center. Let's see, you're liable for all your possessions that are left in the vicinity. And always remember, you've got to show a photo ID, right? That is for sure. You must show your photo ID to prove who you are for any exam that you're taking. All right, I think we're good there. And I'll see you back here for more tutorials later on in the course.